The photograph showed 14 people around a table decorated with pine cones and red candles. Turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. Everyone was laughing. My daughter had her arm around my granddaughter. My son was carving the meat. I wasn't in that picture. I wasn't even in that state. I found out about my own family's Thanksgiving dinner 3 days later, scrolling through my phone at 6 in the morning, unable to sleep. Hello. My name is Eleanor Whitmore. I'm 71 years old, and I live alone in a small house in Columbus, Ohio. The house where I raised 2 children. The house where my husband took his last breath. The house where, for 12 years, I slowly became a ghost. This is my story. I'm telling it because I think some of you might recognize it. I hope you do. And I hope you do something about it sooner than I did. Let me start from the beginning. My husband, Harold, passed away 12 years ago. Lung cancer. He never smoked a day in his life, but his father worked in a factory, and Harold spent his childhood breathing in whatever came home on those clothes. The doctors said it was just bad luck. I said it was cruel. Harold said it was fine, as long as I would be okay. He was 63. I was 59. We had plans, Harold and I. A cabin somewhere quiet. Maybe Vermont. Maybe Montana. Somewhere with trees and water and no noise except birds in the morning. We were going to grow old together in a place that didn't remind us of schedules and obligations and all the years we spent working too hard. Instead, I buried him on a Tuesday in March. The ground was still frozen. I remember thinking the earth didn't want to take him either. After the funeral, my daughter Jessica flew back to Denver. My son David drove back to Cincinnati. The house went quiet. That first Christmas without Harold was hard. I expected it to be hard. What I didn't expect was the phone call from Jessica, 2 weeks before the holiday. Mom, we've been talking, David and I. We think maybe you should just rest this year. You know? Take it easy. We don't want to put pressure on you. I held the phone to my ear and stared at the advent calendar Harold and I had used for over 40 years. Little wooden doors with tiny painted scenes behind each one. What do you mean, rest? We just thought. You're still grieving. A big family gathering might be too much. Too many memories. We want to protect you. Protect me. I said okay. I didn't know what else to say. That year, Jessica hosted Christmas at her house in Denver. David and his family drove up from Cincinnati. I saw the photos on Facebook. The tree was beautiful. The kids wore matching pajamas. I spent Christmas Day alone, eating scrambled eggs at 9 in the morning and watching a movie I don't remember. I told myself it was just 1 year. They were being considerate. Grief is hard on everyone. Next year would be different. Next year was the same. Mom, are you sure you want to travel? It's such a long flight. And the kids get so loud. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed. And the year after that. Mom, we're doing something small this year. Very casual. You wouldn't enjoy it. And the year after that. By then, I had stopped expecting invitations. I had stopped asking questions. When you ask why you're not included, people get defensive. They get annoyed. They say you're being difficult. They say you're making them feel guilty when they're just trying to help. So I stopped asking. I watched my grandchildren grow up through photographs. Emma's ballet recitals. Jack's baseball games. Birthday parties with themes I didn't understand. Vacations to places Harold and I had always wanted to visit. I kept a calendar. Not for appointments. I didn't have many of those. I kept it to mark the days when something happened without me. Easter. Mother's Day. 4th of July. Thanksgiving. Christmas. Grandparents' Day. The kids' birthdays. Anniversary dinners for Jessica and Tom. Graduation ceremonies I heard about a week after they happened. After a while, the calendar had more marks than blank spaces. Some of you might be wondering why I didn't just show up. Why I didn't buy a plane ticket and knock on the door. Why I didn't demand to be included. I wondered that too, for a long time. The answer is complicated and simple. When you're told enough times that your presence is a burden, you start to believe it. When people say they're protecting you, it sounds like love. It feels like love, at first. Then it starts to feel like something else. Like a polite way of saying you're in the way. I didn't want to be the difficult mother. The needy mother. The mother who couldn't take a hint. So I took the hint. I stayed in Columbus. I kept the house clean. I tended Harold's garden, even though I never had his talent for it. I volunteered at the library on Tuesdays. I went to church on Sundays, sat in the back pew, and left before anyone could ask me to stay for coffee. My children called on holidays. Short calls. 15 minutes, maybe 20. They asked how I was doing. I said fine. They said that's good. They said they'd call again soon. Sometimes they did. Sometimes they didn't. I want to be clear about something. My children are not bad people. Jessica is successful. She runs a marketing firm. She's smart, driven, always in control. David is a good father. He works hard. He coaches his son's soccer team. They're not cruel. They're just busy. They have their own lives, their own problems, their own families. Somewhere along the way, I became an item on a checklist. A box to tick. A call to make when they remembered. I understand that. I do. But understanding doesn't make it hurt less. Last Christmas was the worst. Not because anything dramatic happened. Because I finally saw the truth clearly, and I couldn't unsee it. I was sitting in my living room, drinking coffee, looking at my phone. Jessica had posted a video. The whole family was there. David, his wife Sarah, their kids. Jessica, Tom, their kids. They were opening presents. The tree was enormous. Someone had made cinnamon rolls. My granddaughter Emma looked up at the camera and said, "This is the best Christmas ever." I watched it 3 times. Then I put the phone down and looked around my living room. The same couch Harold and I bought in 1987. The same lamp from our first apartment. Photos on the wall from decades I could barely remember. A Christmas tree I had decorated alone, with ornaments my grandchildren used to fight over hanging. No one had called. No one had texted. No one had asked what I was doing or if I wanted to join. I wasn't just uninvited. I was unremembered. I sat there for a long time. The coffee got cold. The house was quiet. And something inside me shifted. I'm 71 years old. My husband is gone. My children have their own lives. My grandchildren barely know my voice. I've spent 12 years being considerate. Being patient. Being the good mother who doesn't make a fuss. For what? For a calendar full of marks. For a phone that doesn't ring. For a seat at a table that doesn't exist. I'm 71 years old. And I'm tired. So I made a decision. If my family could build a life without me, then maybe I could build a life without them. Not out of anger. Not for revenge. Just for me. Finally. After all these years. I haven't told them yet. I haven't told anyone. But I've started making plans. Real plans, for the first time since Harold died. There's a place we used to talk about, Harold and I. A small town in Montana. Mountains and sky and nothing but quiet. We said we'd go there someday. Someday never came for Harold. But maybe it can still come for me. I don't know what will happen. I don't know if I'm brave enough. I don't know if I'm foolish. But I know I can't spend another Christmas staring at photos of a family that forgot I exist. I know I can't keep marking days on a calendar that only tracks my absence. I know I deserve more than this. We all do. So that's where I am right now. Sitting in my quiet house in Columbus, Ohio. 71 years old. Alone, but maybe not for much longer. Because I think I'm ready to leave. And I think, for the first time in 12 years, I'm ready to be found. Just not by the people I expected. After that Christmas, I decided to try. I know what you're thinking. 12 years is a long time to stay silent. 12 years is a long time to accept being forgotten. You're right, it is. But grief does strange things to people. It makes you small. It makes you quiet. It convinces you that taking up space is selfish, that asking for attention is weak. For 12 years, I believed that staying out of the way was the kindest thing I could do for my children. They were busy. They were building lives. They didn't need their sad, widowed mother reminding them of death every time they looked at her. At least, that's what I told myself. But that Christmas video changed something. Watching my granddaughter say, "Best Christmas ever," while I sat alone with cold coffee and an empty house. That broke something. Or maybe it fixed something. I'm still not sure which. Either way, I decided to try. I called Jessica first. It was January 7th. I remember because I had written it in my calendar. Call Jessica. Be honest. She picked up on the fourth ring. "Mom, is everything okay?" That's how she always answered. Not, "Hi, Mom," or, "Good to hear from you." Always, "Is everything okay?" Like the only reason I would call is if something was wrong. "Everything's fine," I said. "I just wanted to talk." "Oh, okay. Hold on." I heard her cover the phone. Muffled voices. Something about a meeting in 10 minutes. "Sorry, Mom. I'm at work. What's up?" I had rehearsed this. I had written notes on an index card. But hearing her voice, hearing that impatience underneath the politeness, I forgot everything I wanted to say. "I was thinking about Easter," I said. "I'd like to come visit. See the kids. Maybe stay for a few days." Silence. "Easter is pretty busy for us, Mom. Tom's parents are coming. And Emma has a recital that weekend. It's just a lot. I could help. I could cook. I wouldn't be in the way." "It's not about being in the way." Her voice softened, just a little. "It's just complicated logistics. You know how it is." I didn't know how it was. I hadn't been part of their logistics in over a decade. "What about after Easter? I could come in May. Or whenever works for you. Let me check with Tom and get back to you, okay? I really have to run. Love you, Mom." She hung up before I could say it back. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my index card. On it, I had written, "Tell her you feel left out. Tell her you miss them. Ask why." I hadn't said any of it. 2 weeks later, I called David. "Hey, Mom, everything okay?" Same greeting. Same tone. "I'm fine. I was just thinking. I haven't seen Jack's baseball games in years. When does the season start? I could drive down for a weekend." "Oh, I think the schedule comes out next month. I'll let you know." "That would be nice. I'd love to see him play." "Yeah, for sure." "Hey, Mom, I'm actually in the middle of something. Can I call you back?" Of course. He didn't call back. This is the part of the story where I'm supposed to get angry. Where I'm supposed to confront them, demand explanations, make a scene. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because every time I tried to push, they pulled away. Every time I asked a direct question, they gave me a soft answer that sounded like kindness but felt like a door closing. "We didn't want to overwhelm you. We thought you needed space." You know you're always welcome. Always welcome, but never invited. In March, I tried again. Jessica's birthday was coming up. I called to ask if I could visit. Actually, Mom, we're doing a small thing this year. Just a few friends. Nothing fancy. I could come the day after. Just to see you. That weekend is crazy. Emma has a tournament. Tom has a work thing. Maybe next month? Next month never came. I started keeping a different kind of calendar after that. Not just marking the events I missed. I started writing down every time I reached out and what happened. January 7th called Jessica. Easter rejected. January 22nd called David. Baseball game no follow-up. March 3rd Jessica's birthday. Visit rejected. April 15th David's anniversary. Sent card. No response. May 8th Mother's Day. Jessica called for 8 minutes. David texted. 8 minutes. On Mother's Day, my daughter gave me 8 minutes. By summer, I had filled 3 pages. In August, something happened that I still think about. I was on Facebook, scrolling through photos I probably shouldn't have been looking at. Jessica had posted an album. Lake House Weekend. 37 photos. The lake house. Harold and I had bought that property 30 years ago. A small cabin on a lake in Indiana. We spent every summer there when the kids were young. Swimming, fishing, barbecues on the dock. After Harold died, I signed the property over to Jessica and David. I thought they should have it. I thought it would stay in the family. I scrolled through the photos. The whole family was there. Jessica, Tom, their kids. David, Sarah, their kids. Friends I didn't recognize. A new deck I had never seen. 37 photos of people laughing on the property Harold and I had built our dreams around. I wasn't in any of them. I wasn't even told they were going. I put the phone down. I walked to the window. The garden was overgrown again. I could never keep up with it the way Harold did. That night, I called David. I didn't plan to. My hand just reached for the phone. Mom? It's kind of late. Everything okay? I saw the pictures from the lake house. Silence. A long one. Oh, yeah. It was kind of a last-minute thing. Jessica organized it. You didn't think to invite me? More silence. Mom, it wasn't. I mean, we didn't think you'd want to come. It was a lot of people. Loud. The kids were running around. We figured you wouldn't enjoy it. You figured. Yeah. I felt something rise in my chest. Something I had pushed down for 12 years. David, when was the last time you asked me what I wanted? When was the last time anyone asked? Mom, that's not fair. What's not fair? You're making it sound like we purposely excluded you. We didn't. We thought you wanted to be left alone. You never say anything. You never complain. We assumed you were fine. I was being polite. Well, how were we supposed to know that? I didn't have an answer. Or maybe I did, but it was too painful to say out loud. How were they supposed to know? By paying attention, by asking, by not assuming that silence meant consent. But I didn't say that. I just said, I have to go. Mom, wait. I hung up. The next morning, I called Jessica. I wanted to hear her side. David told me you were upset, she said. Her voice was careful, controlled. I'm not upset. I'm hurt. Mom, I'm sorry you feel that way. But you have to understand, we've been trying to give you space. After Dad died, you were so fragile. We didn't want to push you. That was 12 years ago, Jessica. I know, but you never said anything. You never told us you wanted to be included. We're not mind readers. I'm your mother. Do I need to ask to be part of my own family? She sighed. That sigh. I knew it well. The sigh that meant I was being difficult, unreasonable, emotional. Mom, I don't know what you want me to say. We love you. We have busy lives. The kids have activities. Tom and I both work. It's hard to coordinate everything. I understand. I'm not sure you do. I let that sit between us. I'm not asking for much, Jessica. A phone call, an invitation, a seat at the table. You have that, Mom. You've always had that, have I? Silence. Look, she said, her voice softening just a fraction. I'll talk to David. Maybe we can do something for Thanksgiving this year. All of us. Would that make you happy? Would that make you happy? Like she was offering a treat to a child. That would be nice, I said. Because what else could I say? Okay, I'll let you know. She hung up. Thanksgiving came and went. There was no invitation, no call to discuss plans. Just a text message on the day itself. Happy Thanksgiving, Mom. Thinking of you. An emoji. That was my Thanksgiving. I sat in my kitchen and looked at my calendar. Pages of marks. Months of rejections. Years of excuses. They weren't going to change. I understood that now, not because they were cruel, but because they had built a life that didn't include me. They had trained themselves to see my absence as normal, as comfortable, as the way things were supposed to be. Changing that would require effort. It would require them to rearrange their schedules, their priorities, their assumptions. And they weren't willing to do that. I walked to the living room. Harold's photo was on the mantel. Our wedding day. We were so young, so certain that life would turn out the way we planned. What would you do? I asked him. I talked to his photo sometimes. It helped. He didn't answer, of course. But I knew what he would say. Ellie, you deserve better than this. That's what he always said, whenever someone treated me less than I deserved. At work, with friends, with family, you deserve better. Maybe I did. Maybe it was time to stop asking for a seat at their table. Maybe it was time to build my own. I walked to my desk, pulled out the folder I had been hiding from myself for months. Montana. Real estate listings. Small towns with strange names. Cabin rentals. Senior communities. Harold and I had talked about it for years. A quiet place. A fresh start. I spread the papers across the desk and stared at them. 71 years old. Alone. Invisible to my own family. What did I have to lose? I started with the house. People don't realize how much paperwork a life accumulates. 43 years in one place. Mortgage documents. Insurance policies. Utility bills from decades ago that I kept for no reason. Report cards from when Jessica was in 3rd grade. Drawings David made in kindergarten. I sat on the floor of Harold's old office and went through boxes I hadn't opened since he died. It took 3 weeks. Some things I kept, most things I didn't. I learned that letting go gets easier after the first few boxes. The first one nearly broke me. By the 20th, I was numb. I called a realtor in early February. Her name was Megan. Young, energetic, too many teeth in her smile. Mrs. Whitmore, this is a lovely home. Great bones. The market is strong right now. I think we can get you a very competitive offer. I nodded. I didn't tell her that I had raised 2 children in this house. That my husband died in the bedroom upstairs. That I was selling 43 years of memories to strangers. She didn't need to know. She just needed to sell it. Are you relocating locally? She asked, her pen hovering over a form. Montana. Oh, how exciting. Do you have family there? No. She paused, waited for me to explain. I didn't. Well, she said, her smile never faltering. Montana is beautiful. You'll love it. I signed the papers. She put a sign in the yard. And just like that, my house was no longer mine. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. I contacted banks, transferred accounts, updated my address with Social Security, found a new doctor in Montana through an online directory, requested copies of my medical records. I moved through tasks like a machine. Wake up, make list, complete list, sleep, repeat. It was easier that way. If I stopped to think, I might change my mind. But there was one thing I had been avoiding. One place I needed to go before I left Ohio forever. The lake house. I drove there on a Thursday in March. 3 hours on empty highways. Gray sky. Bare trees. I hadn't been to the lake in 8 years. After Harold died, I couldn't face it alone. Then Jessica and David took over the property, and somehow I was never invited. The last time I was there, Harold was still alive. We sat on the dock and watched the sun go down. He held my hand and said, "Ellie, we did good. This place, this family. We did good." 2 months later, he was gone. I pulled into the driveway and turned off the engine. The cabin looked different. New paint, new windows, a deck I didn't recognize. I sat in the car for a long time. Then I got out and walked to the dock. The lake was still, ice at the edges, dark water in the center. The same lake where I taught my children to swim. Where Harold caught fish he was always too soft-hearted to keep. I stood there and remembered. Summer afternoons, laughter from the water. Hamburgers on the grill, fireflies at dusk, a whole life, right here, and now I was a stranger to it. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough for my feet to go numb. Long enough for the memories to stop hurting and start feeling like something else. Like goodbye. I whispered it out loud. Goodbye. The wind carried it away. When I got back to the car, I noticed something I had missed before. A window box on the cabin's front porch. Dead flowers inside. A small ceramic sign that read, "The Thompson Whitmore Family." Thompson. Tom's last name. My name wasn't on that sign. I drove home without stopping. That night, I finalized my plans. I found a small cabin for rent in Cedar Ridge, Montana. Population 2,847. 1 Main Street. A library. A senior center. Mountains in every direction. Harold would have loved it. The cabin was nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. A porch with a view of pine trees. $700 a month, utilities included. I paid 3 months in advance. The moving company came on April 2nd. 2 young men who packed my life into boxes and loaded them onto a truck. I kept 1 suitcase with me. Clothes for a week. Toiletries. Harold's watch. A photo album. The urn with his ashes. He was coming with me. That was never a question. The day before I left, I walked through the empty house one last time. The kitchen where I made 10,000 meals. The living room where we celebrated over 40 Christmases. The bedroom where I slept alone for 12 years. I touched the walls, ran my fingers along the door frames. "Thank you," I said, "for everything." Then I locked the door and put the key in the lockbox for Megan. The new owners were a young couple. First-time buyers. They seemed nice, from what Megan told me. I hoped they would be happy here. I hoped they would fill it with new memories. Mine were coming with me. I didn't tell Jessica. I didn't tell David. Some of you might think that was cruel. Maybe it was. But I had spent 12 years reaching out and being pushed away. 12 years of phone calls that went nowhere. 12 years of asking for a place in their lives and being told, gently, politely, that there wasn't one. If I told them I was leaving, what would happen? They would talk me out of it. They would say I was being dramatic. They would promise to do better, to call more, to visit soon. And then nothing would change. I knew this because I had lived it. I had heard every promise they could make. And I had watched every promise break. So I didn't tell them. I left a forwarding address with the post office. Changed my phone number. Closed my email account. And on April 3rd, at 6 in the morning, I got in my car and drove west. Alone. The drive took 3 days. I stopped at motels along the way. Ate at diners. Watched the landscape change from flat Ohio farmland to rolling hills to endless plains to mountains. Somewhere in Wyoming, I pulled over at a rest stop and cried. Not sad tears. Not entirely. Relief. Fear. Grief. Hope. All of it mixed together. I was 71 years old. I was driving across the country to start over in a place where I knew no one. I had left behind everything familiar. Everything safe. I was terrified. But underneath the terror, something else. Something I hadn't felt in 12 years. Excitement. I wiped my face. Drank some water. Got back on the road. Montana welcomed me with snow. Light flurries that melted on the windshield. Mountains rising in the distance like promises. Cedar Ridge was smaller than I expected. One gas station. One grocery store. A post office the size of my old bathroom. The kind of town where everyone knows everyone and strangers are noticed immediately. I was definitely a stranger. The cabin was at the end of a dirt road, 2 miles from town. When I pulled up, a woman was standing on the porch next door. She was about my age. Gray hair, flannel shirt, holding a mug of something hot. You must be Eleanor, she called out. I'm Patricia. I live next door. Well, next door is a quarter mile that way, but that's next door around here. I got out of the car slowly. My legs were stiff from driving. Nice to meet you. Long drive? 3 days. She nodded like that was perfectly normal. You need help unloading? The moving truck comes tomorrow. Smart. Get some rest first. You want coffee? Tea? Something stronger? I looked at this woman I had never met. This stranger offering kindness without expecting anything in return. Tea would be nice, I said. She smiled. Come on over when you're ready. I'm always home. That first night in Montana, I sat on my new porch and watched the stars. More stars than I had ever seen. No city lights to dim them. Just darkness and diamonds. Harold's urn sat on the table next to me. We made it, I told him. Finally. The silence was enormous. But not empty. I went to bed at 9 o'clock and slept better than I had in years. 7 weeks later, my phone rang. I had kept the same number after all. Changed my mind at the last minute. Some thread I couldn't quite cut. The screen said, Jessica. I stared at it for a long time. Let it ring. Let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. David. Then Jessica again. Then a text. Then another. Then 6 more. Mom, where are you? We went to the house. Strangers are living there. Mom, please call us. We're worried. Mom, this isn't funny. Are you okay? Please. I read them all, one by one. And I felt something I didn't expect. Nothing. No guilt. No urgency. No need to explain. Just nothing. They had finally noticed I was gone. After 7 weeks. 7 weeks. It took them 7 weeks to realize I no longer existed in Ohio. I put the phone down and looked out the window. The mountains were turning pink in the sunset. Patricia was walking her dog down the road. Tomorrow, I would call them. Tomorrow, I would explain. But tonight, I was going to sit here and watch the sky change colors. Tonight, I was going to be a woman who didn't owe anyone an explanation. Just for one more night. I called them the next morning. Not because I wanted to. Because I knew if I didn't, they would file a missing person report. They would call the police. They would make this into a crisis that wasn't a crisis. I was not missing. I had simply left. Jessica picked up on the first ring. Mom? Oh my God, Mom, where are you? Are you okay? We've been going crazy. I'm fine. Fine? Fine? We went to your house and strangers are living there. Your phone was disconnected for weeks. We thought you were dead. I let her finish. I let her panic spill out like water from a broken pipe. Then I said, very calmly, I moved. Silence. You. What? I moved. To Montana. I live here now. More silence. I could hear her breathing. Fast. Shallow. Mom, that doesn't make any sense. You can't just move without telling anyone. Without telling us. Why not? What do you mean, why not? Because we're your family. I looked out the window. The mountains were bright in the morning sun. A hawk circled overhead. Jessica, I said, when was the last time you invited me to anything? That's not. When was the last time you called just to talk? Not to check if I was alive. Just to talk. Mom, that's not fair. We've been busy. Life is busy. Life has been busy for 12 years. She didn't answer. I left because I was invisible, I said. I left because I spent 12 years watching my family through photographs. I left because no one noticed I was gone until 7 weeks after I sold my house. That's not true. We noticed. We thought you were. You thought what? I don't know. Traveling? Visiting friends? We didn't think you would just disappear. I didn't disappear, Jessica. I was never there to begin with. The line went quiet. I could hear her crying now. Soft, muffled sounds. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Old habits. 12 years of swallowing my own feelings to protect hers. But I didn't. I need time, I said. Don't call me for a while. Mom, please. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I made tea. Spilled half of it on the counter. Sat down and stared at nothing. That was the hardest phone call I had ever made. 3 weeks passed. I thought they would respect my request. I thought they would give me space. Time to breathe. Time to figure out what came next. I was wrong. On a Tuesday afternoon, Patricia knocked on my door. Eleanor, there's a car coming up your road. Fancy SUV. Out of state plates. My stomach dropped. I walked to the window. A black Range Rover was rolling slowly up the dirt road. Dust clouds behind it. I knew that car. Jessica and Tom had bought it last year. I saw it in photos. Friends of yours? Patricia asked. Family. She studied my face. She didn't ask more questions. You want me to stay? No. This is something I need to do alone. She squeezed my hand. I'm right next door. You need anything, you holler. She left through the back. The Range Rover parked in front of my cabin. 2 doors opened. Jessica got out first. Then David. They stood in my driveway, looking at the cabin, looking at the mountains, looking at everything except me. I stepped onto the porch. How did you find me? My voice was steady. I was proud of that. Jessica's eyes were red. David looked exhausted. Unshaven. Wrinkled shirt. We hired someone, David said. A private investigator. After you hung up on Jessica, we didn't know what else to do. You could have waited. Like I asked. We were worried, Mom. Worried. I let the word hang in the air. You were worried. Jessica stepped forward. Can we come inside, please? We drove 18 hours. I didn't move from the porch. Say what you came to say. Mom, please. Don't do this. Do what? Stand on my own porch? In front of my own home? The home I chose for myself? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Jessica? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. David stepped in, always the mediator, always trying to smooth things over. Mom, we know we messed up. Okay? We know. But this, running away, cutting us off. This isn't the answer. Running away. I almost laughed. Is that what you think this is? What else would you call it? I stepped down from the porch, walked toward them, stopped 3 feet away. I call it surviving. I call it choosing myself for the first time in 71 years. Mom, do you know how many holidays I spent alone? Do you know how many birthdays, graduations, recitals I missed because no one thought to tell me about them? Do you have any idea what it feels like to find out about your own family through Facebook? Jessica was crying again. David's jaw was tight. We didn't know, he said. You never said anything. I said plenty. You just weren't listening. That's not fair. Fair? My voice rose. I couldn't stop it. You want to talk about fair? I gave you everything. I raised you. I supported you. I was there for every crisis, every heartbreak, every failure. And when your father died, when I needed you most, you decided I was too sad to be around. Too inconvenient. Too much. That's not true. It is true, David. And you know it. He looked away. Jessica sobbed into her hands. Mom, we made mistakes, she said through her tears. We admit it. But you're our mother. You can't just leave us. You left me first. The words hit her like a slap. She flinched. You left me 12 years ago. You just didn't bother to tell me. Silence. The wind picked up. The trees rustled. Somewhere, a bird called out. I took a breath. Steadied myself. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I need you to understand that. This isn't revenge. Then what is it? David's voice cracked. Just a little. It's survival. It's me finally admitting that I can't spend another decade waiting for you to remember I exist. We want to do better, Mom. We're here, aren't we? We drove 18 hours. You drove 18 hours because you felt guilty. Because suddenly I wasn't where you expected me to be. Because for the first time, you had to put in effort. That's not. Where were you last Thanksgiving, David? Where were you at Christmas? Where were you when I called about Easter and Jessica said it was too complicated? He couldn't answer. You drove 18 hours because I forced you to. Because I took myself away. But would you have driven 18 hours to visit me in Ohio? Would you have called me every week? Would you have invited me to one single family dinner? More silence. Jessica wiped her face. Mascara smeared across her cheek. What do you want from us, Mom? Just tell us what you want. I looked at my daughter. My firstborn. The baby I held in my arms 46 years ago. The girl who used to climb into my lap and ask for stories. When did she become this stranger? When did I want to matter, I said quietly. I want to be more than an afterthought. More than a phone call on Mother's Day. More than a name you feel guilty about once a year. You do matter. Then act like it. She reached for me. I stepped back. Not yet. I'm not ready yet. Mom, please. We're your children. I know. That's what makes this so hard. David ran his hand through his hair. Frustrated. Tired. So what now? You just stay here forever? Alone? Away from your family? I'm not alone, David. I have a community here. People who know my name. People who invite me to dinner and actually want me there. We want you. No, you want me to be available. That's not the same thing. He didn't argue. He couldn't. Go home, I said. Both of you. Go back to your lives. Give me time. How much time? I don't know. Mom, that's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Jessica stepped forward again, desperate now. What about the grandchildren? Emma asks about you. Jack doesn't remember what you look like anymore. That hurt. She knew it would. Whose fault is that? She flinched again. I would have been there, I said. Every game, every recital, every birthday. All you had to do was ask. We thought you were happy being alone. You thought wrong. The sun was starting to set. Orange light on the mountains. Long shadows across the yard. There's a motel in town, I said. You can stay there tonight. We can talk more tomorrow. But right now, I need you to leave. Mom, please. My voice broke on that word. Just a little. Just enough for them to hear. Jessica stepped forward and hugged me. I let her. I didn't hug back. Not yet. David put his hand on my shoulder. Squeezed once. Then they got back in the car. They drove away. I stood in the yard until the dust settled. Until the sound of the engine faded. Then I walked inside, sat on my couch, and cried. Not for them. For me. For the 12 years I lost. For the mother I used to be. For the woman I was trying to become. I cried until there was nothing left. And then I made dinner. Because that's what you do. You feel everything. And then you keep going. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow we would talk. Tomorrow I would decide what came next. But tonight, I was still standing. Still breathing. Still here. That was enough. 6 months have passed since that day on my porch. I'm sitting here now, in the same chair, watching the first snow of winter fall on Cedar Ridge. The mountains have turned white. The pine trees bend under the weight. Everything is quiet in that way only snow can make things quiet. Harold's ashes are scattered now. I did it in October, on what would have been our 45th wedding anniversary. Patricia came with me. We hiked to a spot overlooking the valley, and I let him go. It was time. I kept a small amount in a locket I wear around my neck. He's still with me. He always will be. But he doesn't need to sit on a shelf anymore. He's part of the mountains now. Part of the sky. I think he would have liked that. The changes came slowly at first. Then all at once. Jessica called the week after she left Montana. Not a long call. 10 minutes. But she called. The next week, she called again. And the week after that. We didn't talk about anything important at first. The weather. Her work. A recipe she tried. Small things. Safe things. But small things add up. That's what I've learned. Small things become the foundation for bigger things. You can't build a house without laying bricks one at a time. David started calling too. Sunday evenings, usually. He would tell me about Jack's soccer games. About the promotion he was hoping for. About the garden he was trying to grow. He's terrible at gardening. His tomatoes died within a month. But he kept trying. And he kept calling to tell me about it. That meant more to me than any tomato ever could. Emma came to visit in July, just like she promised. 2 weeks in Montana. Just the two of us. I was nervous. 17-year-olds are complicated. They have phones and friends in a whole world I don't understand. I worried she would be bored. I worried we wouldn't have anything to talk about. I was wrong. We talked about everything. Her school. Her dreams. The boys she liked, who turned out to be not worth liking. We talked about Harold, and she cried when I showed her his letters. We talked about her mother, and she asked questions I answered as honestly as I could. One night, we sat on the porch and looked at the stars. Grandma, do you regret leaving? I thought about it for a long time before I answered. No, but I regret that it took so long. What do you mean? I mean I should have spoken up sooner. I should have demanded more. I spent 12 years being polite when I should have been honest. She was quiet for a while. I don't think I would have been brave enough to do what you did. You're 17, Emma. You have time to learn. Learn what? That your voice matters. That asking for what you need isn't selfish. That sometimes leaving is the only way to make people see you. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We watched a shooting star cross the sky. I'm glad you left, she said. Is that a weird thing to say? No, sweetheart. I'm glad too. Jack came in August. Just for a week, with his father. He's 15 now. Tall. Quiet. He looks so much like David at that age that sometimes it takes my breath away. He didn't talk much at first. Teenage boys are like that. They communicate in grunts and shrugs and one-word answers. But on the third day, he asked if I would teach him to fish. I hadn't fished since Harold died. I didn't think I remembered how. But we went to the lake together. I showed him what Harold taught me, all those years ago. How to cast, how to wait, how to be patient. He caught a trout. Small, but his first one. His face lit up in a way I hadn't seen before. Can we do this again tomorrow? He asked. Every day you're here. We did. Thanksgiving was different this year. Jessica called in early November. Not to make excuses. Not to explain why I couldn't come. To invite me. We want you here, Mom. For real this time. Will you come? I thought about it. The cabin. The snow. The peace I had built. And I said yes. Flying to Denver was strange. I hadn't been on a plane in years. Everything was different. Smaller seats. More security. Screens everywhere. But when I walked out of the terminal and saw Jessica waiting for me, holding a sign that said, Mom, none of that mattered. She hugged me for a long time. Right there in the airport. People walked around us. Neither of us cared. Thanksgiving dinner was loud. Chaotic. Tom's parents were there. The kids' friends. Too many dishes and not enough table space. But there was a seat for me. A real seat. Not an afterthought. Not an obligation. A place that was mine. Jessica had set it next to her. She held my hand when we said grace. I looked around that table. At my family. At the people I had thought were lost to me. They were still flawed. Still busy. Still imperfect. But they were there. And so was I. After dinner, Emma pulled me aside. Grandma, I made something for you. She handed me a small photo album. The cover said, 12 years. Inside were photos. All the ones I had missed. Emma's recitals. Jack's games. Birthday parties. Holidays. The lake house. Everything. Under each photo, she had written a note. What happened that day? Who was there? What she wished I had known. I couldn't speak. I just held it to my chest and cried. I wanted you to have them, she said. So you don't miss anything else. That album sits on my bedside table now. I look at it every night before I sleep. I didn't go back to Ohio. I never will. But I go to Denver now. And Cincinnati. I visit. I stay for a few days. I leave when I'm ready. The relationship is different than it was before Harold died. We won't get those years back. We can't pretend the distance never happened. But we're building something new. Something honest. Something real. It's enough. More than enough. Patricia and I have become true friends. The kind of friends who don't need to talk every day but know the other is there. She lost her husband 8 years ago. She understands the particular loneliness of widowhood. The way the house feels too quiet. The way you reach for someone who isn't there. We have dinner together twice a week. We go to the senior center on Fridays for cards and gossip. We take walks when the weather is good. She's not a replacement for family. She's something different. Something I chose. I've learned that family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up. The people who make space for you. The people who remember your name and your birthday and the way you take your coffee. In Cedar Ridge, I have that. I have neighbors who wave when I drive by. I have the librarian who saves books she thinks I'll like. I have the woman at the grocery store who asks about my grandchildren. I matter here. In small ways. In quiet ways. But I matter. That's all any of us really want, isn't it? To matter. I'm 72 now. My knees hurt in the cold. I forget things I used to remember. I get tired earlier than I used to. But I wake up every morning and choose this life. This cabin. This view. This peace. I don't know how many years I have left. None of us do. Harold thought he had decades. He had months. But I know how I want to spend them. Present. Visible. Loved on my own terms. If you're listening to this story and seeing yourself in it, I want you to know something. It's not too late. It's not too late to speak up. To demand more. To leave if you have to. To stay if that's what you choose. It's not too late to matter. I spent 12 years invisible. 12 years waiting for someone to notice me. 12 years being polite and patient and small. And then I left. And everything changed. Not because leaving is magic. It's not. Leaving is hard. Leaving is lonely. Leaving breaks your heart in ways you don't expect. But sometimes breaking is how you heal. Sometimes walking away is how you find your way back. My children and I are not perfect. We still misunderstand each other. We still have hard conversations. We still hurt each other in small ways. But we're trying. All of us. Every day. That's what family is, in the end. Not perfection. Just trying. Just showing up. Just saying, I see you, and meaning it. Last week, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Jessica. It said, "Mom, I'm sorry it took me so long to see you. Thank you for not giving up on me. I love you. Your daughter." I read it 3 times. Then I put it in the drawer with Harold's letters. Some things are worth keeping forever. The snow is falling harder now. The world outside my window is turning white. Soon, Patricia will knock on the door and invite me for hot chocolate. Soon, the phone will ring with Jessica's weekly call. Soon, Emma will text me a photo of something funny. Life continues. Small moments. Ordinary days. Nothing dramatic. And that's exactly what I wanted. A life where I'm included. A life where I'm seen. A life I chose for myself. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for staying until the end. I know it wasn't easy to hear. Some of it was hard to tell. But I believe stories like this need to be told. Because somewhere out there, someone is sitting alone. Someone is scrolling through photos of a life they're not part of. Someone is wondering if they deserve more. You do. You deserve more. Speak up. Reach out. And if no one listens, make them listen. Or find people who will. You matter. Don't let anyone make you forget that. This is Eleanor Whitmore, from Cedar Ridge, Montana. 72 years old. Finally visible. Finally home. Thank you so much for spending your time with Eleanor's story. If her journey touched your heart, or if you saw a piece of yourself in her words, I would be truly grateful if you could subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you never miss another story. A like and a comment mean more than you know. They help others find these stories who might need to hear them too. Take care of yourselves. And take care of the people who matter to you. Until next time.